What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they had some interesting names in their pre-draft visits yesterday, along with, possibly the greatest quarterback of all time, who's saying, maybe I'm coming out of retirement. We're going to talk about why the Pittsburgh Steelers, or at least I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers might be a name to watch. And then a wide receiver target, a name that I have shut down numerous times on this show, saying the Steelers have no shot of going and getting this guy, has been named a landing spot, or the Steelers have been named a landing spot for him. We're going to talk about how realistic that may be. It was treacherous here in the Berg yesterday, but Tiger Woods is golfing. The Penguins are winning hockey games. Pitt is about to play a spring game. It's a good week here in the Berg. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling good. Feeling good. My basement is not completely flooded, which I was kind of afraid. Good. I was pretty scared at certain points that it would get there, but we are above ground. We are not underwater, and I'm pretty grateful for that.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad. I will say that we rock the same flooded basement situation. I don't know what you got down there. My basement is full of wedding stuff. So
yeah, my stuff is less important down there. It's not wedding stuff.
It was terrifying. I won't lie to you. As soon as I heard it while I was making lunch, ran downstairs, was like, no, this can't happen right now. This is just, I can't do this. And I just piled everything as high as I possibly could and prayed that nothing fell. So far, we're good, which is tough with 4 cats. To get things not to fall with 4 cats running around is...
They're actively working against you.
Yeah, at all times. They are your enemies 24/7. But it's good. I'm glad that you are above water. I'm glad that you stayed dry yesterday. How excited are you for the Pitt spring game on Saturday?
I'm very excited. As much as I've loved, going to see practices and everything, going to get to watch some actual football, which, you say it all the time, you need some actual football at certain points.
Yep.
All this year-round talk is cool, but I want to see some people actually hit some people. I want to see some balls thrown, some touchdowns scored. That's what I'm really excited for.
Yeah, no, I agree. I need some football. Steelers are nearing some football. They're only a couple weeks away. In the meantime, they're preparing for the NFL draft, and we got some interesting names, some news and notes to start the show today. Cooper DeJean comes to Pittsburgh today, actually, for his top 30 pre-draft visit. We got some questions on Twitter asking us to explain what teams are looking for in these pre-draft visits, what they actually do with these prospects before they send them on their way, what the goal is for both the player and the team. I think it's important to kind of describe that because I don't know if we ever have. What the teams are looking for, especially in a guy like Cooper DeJean, who's a great example, is you're going to run him through your medical stuff. You're going to, have your medical staff kind of look at him. You're not going to get a deep dive. Like his deep dive is done with his team or with Iowa's team or at the NFL Combine or any of that. Pittsburgh's just kind of going to have their medical staff just take a look. Take a small, easy look. Let them get an understanding of how healthy he is and how healthy he will be come the season. They're going to meet with the coaches. Mike Tomlin's going to sit through some stuff. They're going to talk. They're going to get a tour of the facility, the whole nine. They're going to introduce you to the team or to the facility and everything the team does and just say, hey, look, this is how we operate. This is what we're looking for. And then on the Steelers side of things, what they're looking for is they're going to get to know Cooper DeJean. They're going to, get to know who he is as a person, what his family life is like, what he wants to be as an NFL player, how devoted he is to this game. You learn a lot. I mean, Derek Bell, former member of this podcast, said last year, I believe, 2 years, was Christian Gonzalez. He was a rookie last year. So it was last year that Christian Gonzalez, his meeting with the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't go well. That Mike Tomlin, as soon as they left, was like, I'm not going to draft this guy because I don't think he's going to be as good as everybody thinks he is. So it could go both ways. The Steelers are looking for your personality and who you are as a person, and the player is kind of getting to know the team. So interesting stuff. Cooper DeJean, name to watch, comes to Pittsburgh. Your thoughts when you saw the report?
I was really excited. This didn't seem like a guy that the Steelers were given a ton of attention to. I just thought they kind of figured he was out of their range, but it seems like he could be an option for them at 20 now. It seems like he's fallen a little bit. Like he was, I think considered a little bit higher, like earlier in the draft process, and maybe has fallen a little bit. But
Yeah,
he could be an option for the Steelers, and he's just, I don't know. I feel like he's gone underrated early as like one of the better corner prospects in this class, and I think he's gathering some steam right now. I love that the Steelers are all in on him because are in on him to a certain extent because I think he's just really good. He's got some versatility. Like he's a crazy athlete.
Yes.
And I just think like the city of Pittsburgh would love him. You know,
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
Like he would just be electric in black and gold, I think.
I agree. I don't know if it's the Hawkeye colors, if it's the fact that the Hawkeyes only play defense, that they're only good at defense. I have no idea what it is. I love Cooper DeJean. He's been my favorite dude this entire draft process. I just think he's exciting. I think he's versatile. I think he's a physical football player. He's got a chip on his shoulder. And honestly, I think I would have liked him less if we talked to him at the NFL Combine and he was like super cheery and a very like open, oh man, positive guy. No, he was kind of like, he was a little stern. You were talking to him, you were a bit of like I don't know if this guy is like a nice guy. And I think that turned me on a little more. I was like, this dude's a Steeler. He gives off Steeler vibes. Yesterday, we were talking about this, me and Nick were in the live stream, and people were talking about him playing safety. I mean, there are reports out there that some teams think he would play safety. In Pittsburgh specifically, you think he plays safety? You think he plays corner?
I think he ends up playing corner. But I don't know. I think it's interesting that safety is an option there.
Yeah.
Just because you know how much Steelers like a 3 safety look and things of that nature. So I think he's probably better as a corner. Seems like a more natural position. It's what he's played for most of his college career. But
yep.
I think the safety thing is really interesting. And I think it's an option. I don't know. You've got like a plan at corner as it stands right now. Your safety room, you got a plan right there too, but like there's some wiggle room within there. There's some wiggle room, and I could see, you know, if DeShaun Elliott comes down, like if they want DeShaun Elliott to like play a little bit more in the box or something like that, then you could put DeJean back there as a more athletic, option to play on the back end with Minkah. So I think it's possible, but I would figure he's more of a corner, especially, you know, as soon as he theoretically gets to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, look I agree. I'm a corner guy. I think that he plays corner well. I think he's physical. He's athletic enough. Like people are concerned about his speed. You're at a 4.45. Like,
right. Like what are we talking about?
It's great speed. That's Joey Porter Jr. speed. Like you're doing just fine. I think he's big enough. He's 6 foot. He's 200 plus pounds. The Duke could push you around a little bit. I think that he'd be perfect in Pittsburgh to play on the outside. Plus, I think he's got the versatility to play on the inside this year if they need him to, but they now have options. Like, I think that's the best part about Cooper DeJean. That's the part that, if people are kind of turned off because you don't know where he's going to play, I think that actually helps the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not like a DeMarvin Leal, oh, this guy could play anywhere, you're just going to plug him in. It's like Cooper DeJean can make an impact at safety. He could be a long-term option at safety. He could be a long-term option at corner. And just in year one, you could kind of utilize him everywhere. Yeah, and just kind of figure it out. So I think that's I think Cooper DeJean's a lot higher on the Steelers board than people want to admit. And I think that if he's at 20, I don't know. If you had to pick, I mean, we're gonna create our Steelers big draft board next week or the week of the draft and kind of go through it. But how many? You think there's more than a couple names ahead of them when it comes to the Steelers, at least?
I mean, no, not necessarily. Yeah, no, not really. I mean, one of the a couple of the tackles. I don't think any outside of Quinion Mitchell. I don't think there's a corner that they would rather have than
I agree.
Than Cooper DeJean. Receiver, I mean, it all really depends about who falls there, but I don't really think that they're going to reach for a receiver that high, quite honestly. And I mean, I don't think the centers are even that more enticing than DeJean. So I mean, they need a center more desperately, but I don't know if it's between Graham Barton or Cooper DeJean. I feel like I'm going Cooper DeJean every time.
Yes, 100%. And if that could be the case, that could be a situation that the Steelers find themselves in. Super interesting. I'm a big, I mean, you guys know it. You make fun of me all the time. Go ahead.
No, it's crazy what you said. People worried about his athleticism. That is literally the last thing that I'm worried about with Cooper DeJean. Dude,
that's what I'm saying.
His pro day numbers were ridiculous. I don't have them in front of me, but I remember seeing them and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. For a guy his size to be putting up numbers like this was ridiculous. He's got speed. He's got strength. There's no concern with me about his athleticism.
No, I think he's going to be just fine in the. I don't think that there are some players that you're like, I don't know, like, yeah, and you kind of know those players. Cooper DeJean, there's very few people out there who are like scouts and prospects. There are very few that are like, Cooper DeJean worries me. Now it's more just the fans that are a little bit worried about Cooper DeJean. I think he's going to be just fine. He's my dude. I hope that he falls to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. More news and notes here. This is definitely a curveball, but one that I thought you would enjoy, one that I think Steelers fans might yell at us for, and I was excited to kind of bring it on the show. Tom Brady was on the Deep Cut podcast yesterday with TikTok star Vic Blends talking about a lot of stuff, and Vic, well, he asked, let's say something happens in the middle of the season. Somebody goes down, team's making a playoff push, they need a quarterback, offense is looking good. Do you come out of retirement? Do you pick up the phone call? And Tom immediately, zero hesitation, was just like, yes, I would. I'd be open to it. If the NFL allowed me to do it while also owning a team, I'm all on board. 46 years old. He'd be 47 by the time he signed with an NFL team. I mean, we'll talk about the Steelers. I want to theorize what it would take for the Steelers to end up with Tom Brady and how crazy that would be. But for you, as somebody who grew up with Tom Brady as their guy, and for me as somebody who grew up hating Tom Brady, what were your thoughts? You think you think the GOAT's still got some juice left in him?
No, I don't. Part of me was like, give it a rest, old man. Like, come on, like, move on. Like, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get these guys who have these cushy broadcasting jobs that are worth like millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're like, I need to get back into the sport. Like, you've played or coached or however, like, why are you putting yourself back in the situation? Like, why are you putting yourself back under an immense amount of stress to play the most dangerous game most dangerous sport that Americans play? When he's gonna get hundreds of millions of dollars from Fox to talk about it, to watch the game. Like, if he wants to stay involved in football, I feel like doing the broadcasting thing is a much better move than going back. Because I mean, also, like, remember, when was the last time we saw Tom Brady play football? They lost to
22.
They lost in the playoffs to someone bad. I forget who.
Yeah, it wasn't anybody good.
Yeah, but I was like, wow, Tom Brady cannot throw a football anymore. Like, he was spiking throws in the dirt. It was like everything was short-armed. Like, I don't know. And after a year off, like, I don't expect that to get any better. So I don't know. Tom, leave us alone. Like, we've got a great new generation of quarterbacks. I think we can do without him for a little bit.
So that was hilarious. I was not expecting that take to come from you, but at the same time, I see it. I don't disagree with it. I was having fun theorizing what it would take for Tom Brady to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers and what could possibly happen. And I'm not going to say that it's out of the realm of possibilities. I might be spewing some BS, and I'll acknowledge that I'm spewing some BS, but it's fun to think about what could happen and what could happen for this to happen. I think the Steelers going to the season, there's like zero question in my mind that the Steelers aren't going to be good. I'm not talking about like the best team in the NFL, but it's Mike Tomlin, it's Omar Khan, it's Art Rooney, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a good defense that seemingly only got better. I have a hard time sitting here saying, yeah, they're going to be a really bad team this season. I think even if Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are not good, Arthur Smith could do enough to make this offense good. And with, again, Mike Tomlin leading the way, you're gonna win 9 games. That's just what happens. Like, you're gonna win a minimum of 9 games every single season. That is almost a guarantee. To this point, it is a guarantee. You look at the quarterback situation, you say Russell Wilson's the dude, but there are some people who are skeptical. Justin Fields is the backup, but there are some people who are skeptical. And maybe they get to week 10, week 11, both of these guys are trash. They're terrible. They're not doing anything good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They just look so bad. But the offense is looking good. The Steelers are winning football games. They just clearly have a quarterback problem. Well, you know what? Maybe Tom Brady considers the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm just saying, maybe. I'm thinking if this is a year ago, if this was a year ago with the mindset that the Pittsburgh Steelers have right now, which is we're going to win a Super Bowl, and the quarterbacks were as bad as they were, Tom would have been a real option. I think that he would have. This year, I think it's a little bit more far-fetched, but I'm not going to say it's impossible for Tom Brady to end up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I I guess you can't rule it out. I mean, I thought Tom was retired like twice, and before he actually came back and did it all over again. I think the Steelers would have to like start losing real bad for something like this to be a possibility. You know, like the offense would have to be horrendous, and it would actually have to start affecting them winning games.
Yeah,
I think for Brady to be an option because, we've seen it before. Like we saw it with Kenny. Like he didn't look great. Like the stats didn't jump off the page, and the film didn't look crazy impressive, but they were winning, and he stuck around as their starting quarterback for a year and a half. I don't know.
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Almost 2.
Yeah, we'll call it year and a half. So like to me, maybe this is a different Steelers organization. Maybe they have a different attitude, but I think if this team unless this team is losing real bad, Tom Brady won't be. It is almost guaranteed to not be an option. Like you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I do.
You only get unseated when you lose in Pittsburgh. Yeah. You know, like you don't. If things are winning, if you're winning and things are fine in that way, like that's not a reason for organizations or for the Steelers at least to, pull a quarterback or make a quarterback change or make a change this drastic. Like you've got to really be losing. Like you have to stink to get this team to really move on from. I mean, Matt Canada wasn't fired until they started losing to like the Patriots and the Cardinals, and
3 years into a really bad tenure. Yeah.
Right.
I could play devil's advocate, but I agree with everything you're saying. It's hard to argue. Like in a situation like this, it's hard to be like, well, actually, no, you're right.
Well, I mean, even if we're just like talking about, the hypothetical of like how they get there, like I feel like they really have to stink for this to be this would not. Yeah. This is not like
so bad. Tom's not considering the Steelers.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, like kind of like it has to look real bad. So then I guess I don't know, but like if Tom wants to come back and he's I don't know. I feel like unless there's only teams that are really desperate are going to ask him to come back.
Oh yeah.
So
somebody who loses their MVP quarterback.
Oh, I don't even know about that. I don't even know about that. Like I feel like it's only going to be teams that have like almost no hope. Like it'd be like if like I don't know. I guess the Giants probably wouldn't do that, but like if
you don't think it'd be a team that
if the Raiders can't seem to land on a quarterback, if they draft a guy and he really is really awful, that's a team that I could see going after Tom Brady.
You don't think it'd be a team that, and Steelers fans hate that we're talking about Tom Brady this much, so we'll end it after this, but you don't think it'd be a team that like the 49ers lose Brock Purdy and Josh Dobbs just ain't it, and it's week 13 and they need a quarterback and they got to make a phone call? You don't think it'd be something like that?
Well, yeah, that's like what I'm kind of imagining.
That's what you're referring to?
Like, yeah, you'd have to have run through at least 2 or 3 quarterback options before I think you start considering Tom Brady.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just going to say maybe. Tom Brady comes vet min contract. The Steelers have Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Tom Brady for like $3.5 million. What is that even? How does that even happen? It happens in Pittsburgh. Maybe it happens in Pittsburgh. All right, next thing I want to talk about, real football here, real Pittsburgh Steelers possibilities. The Steelers have been named a landing spot, more than named, predicted to land a superstar wide receiver, not this offseason, but next offseason. A name that I have shut down numerous times on this podcast saying there's no chance that they're going to get this guy, but maybe next year, I guess that kind of changes things. Bleacher Report says Tee Higgins, if they had to guess, is going to end up in Pittsburgh next offseason on a 4-year, $99.7 million contract with $59 million in guaranteed money. I could tell you, just covering this team long enough, that the Steelers, and Nick, I don't know if we could get an exact number on this, have never given up $59 million in guaranteed money. They've never even come close. I believe AB was the most ever with like $21 million guaranteed, outside of maybe TJ Watt. 4 years, $99.7 million for Tee Higgins next offseason. I mean, is it your thoughts? I'm not going to ask. Is it just your thoughts?
A bargain. No. It's, I don't know. To a certain extent, I mean, we've kept saying all offseason like the salary cap's not real, and to a certain extent, like I don't really think money's real. Like like money's real in the sense that like, you have a salary cap and everything, but like at a certain point, like you got to pay for talent, and like you want a player this good, you're not just going to find them laying under a rock. You're not going to sign them as an undrafted free agent. You got to pay for them. Is Tee Higgins a number one? Like, do you think that Tee Higgins is a number one, like a number one wide receiver?
No, I don't.
Like,
I think he's the best number two on a good team. If you're on a bad team, if he's in Carolina, he's a number one. If he's in Pittsburgh, he's number two to George Pickens.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, do you think it's he hasn't gotten a chance to prove that he can be a number one, or just that he flat out is not a number one?
No, I think that he hasn't gotten an opportunity to be a number one, but I also think like what he does is more fitted to be like in today's NFL, like Jamar Chase is a number one because every time he touches the football, he could take it to the house. Tee Higgins, like he could score. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns. He's going to catch a lot of passes. He's going to be reliable, but he's not like that. He doesn't have that, like, anytime you touch the football, it's a complete game changer mode, I feel like. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the sense I get.
No, I mean, and he hasn't, I don't think you're, like, who knows if you're right. Like, he could go somewhere tomorrow and be a number one receiver and be awesome. But, like, You're right. He hasn't proven that. Like, he hasn't done any of that in the NFL. So, to that extent, like, signing a guy for $100 million in 4 years who hasn't proven that he can be a number one receiver, it's tough, Like, George Pickens is really good. He's not Jamar Chase. And playing with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon can really do wonders for some guys. That can really open some things up. So getting to be a number two receiver in that offense is pretty advantageous. And I don't know if Pittsburgh is the same thing, And so you would have to have a lot of faith that Higgins can grow into a number one receiver. And it's just, I would be real uncomfortable taking that contract for a guy who has not proven that yet.
I agree. Nick, do we have a number on the most guaranteed money the Steelers have ever given up?
As of right now, it looks like it is to TJ Watt. He has $80 million guaranteed on this current contract, and that is the leader in the clubhouse.
Do we have a number two available or no?
Not as of right now. That's the only one I could find. But on the Steelers, there's 3 other players that have higher guarantees than what you mentioned for Higgins. Or what did you say was for Higgins for guaranteed?
59.
No, there's nobody else near that.
I was going to say that's so much guaranteed money. That would be crazy. A TJ Watt, that one makes a lot of sense. So just to run this down, okay? If let's say you're going to add Tee Higgins for $99.7 million next season, okay? The contracts that you have to also come up with just on your roster alone, James Daniels is a free agent. Cam Hayward, which, if he wants to stick around, I would imagine is really cheap. Nate Herbig, Landon Roberts, Pat Freiermuth, Dante Jackson, DeMonte KZ, Dan Moore you're going to let walk, Jalen Warren, Trenton Thompson, Isaiah Loudermilk. You could keep it going down here. Russell Wilson, obviously. Braden Fajoko. That's probably most of the big ones. That is most of the big ones. And then in 2026, you got TJ Watt, you got Isaac Seumalo, you got Cole Holcomb, you got Najee, George Pickens, Miles Killebrew again, Deshaun Elliott again. It got a ton of people, if we're going to be honest. Minkah Fitzpatrick, that's in 2027. So you got contracts to come up with on top of $60 million. And you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, excuse me, they have 2 quarterbacks.
But they don't have a quarterback next offseason.
Yeah, true.
Do something there.
I don't know. Like, this feels like a move that you would make if you think that you're one piece away, if you think the Steelers are, and I don't know if this is the one piece though. Like, I think the Steelers are, I don't know. I guess this actually could be the one piece, to be quite honest. I mean, look, like, I don't think like a center puts them over the top. I don't think a new tackle puts them over the top.
No.
I think Russell Wilson could get over the top with like an elite receiver. I just, is Higgins the kind of elite receiver that can put you over the top? That's my question. And I'm not worried about you like my 2026 or 2020. Oh, I guess this is predicting that he will sign in 2025.
2025.
I'm not worried about like my 2026 or 2027 salaries if I'm signing Tee Higgins, like to a contract like that. Like I will deal with that later, to be quite honest. And I think if you're like, don't not do this because you're worried about, oh, we got to re-sign Miles Killebrew too in 2027 or something like that.
Yeah.
Do this because you think it could put you over the top to win a Super Bowl, know? And
I agree.
I don't really think it could, but if you're going to do it, don't do it don't not do it because of the money, to be quite honest.
Yeah. I think that the biggest role here would be the quarterback situation. I don't know what their quarterbacks, but like you can't go into 2026. And I know you just said you can't think about that, but you can't go into 2026 saying, okay, we extended Justin Fields for a year. We got him cheap in 2025. In 2026, we got to hand him a $40 million a year contract, maybe plus, on top of paying TJ Watt and George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. Like, at that point, you're like, okay, this is just too much money. People are leaving. I think you want to try to avoid that and to put yourself in that situation because you added a wide receiver that isn't, I don't know. Would you rather sign Brandon Ayuk to 4 years, $100 million, or Tee Higgins, 4 years, $100 million?
How old's Ayuk? He's
26.
He's older, right?
I think they're both. I think Higgins is 25. Ayuk's 26.
I mean, if we're talking about what guys have or haven't proven, like, get Brandon Ayuk out of a Kyle Shanahan offense and let's see what he is, to be quite honest. Like,
that's a good point. I don't disagree with that.
I just want to hold Ayuk to like the same standard that we're holding Higgins. Like neither of these guys are, neither of these guys are Justin Jefferson, you know? So, I would probably rather have Ayuk. I don't know about that, actually.
I think I'd go Ayuk, but for the same contract.
Closer for the same contract, probably Ayuk.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's closer than I first thought, I guess.
Yeah. I think I'd go Ayuk, but I agree that, he's never done anything outside of Shanahan's offense. So you just don't know what you're going to be working with. Higgins has done well without, even when Joe Burrow's been hurt. So I think that there's something there. I think I'm opposed to both of them. Like I'm not a pay your wide receiver that much money. Like if you're going to pay George Pickens in a couple of years, focus on that. Don't focus on the rest of them. Especially because if it's a year from now, if you're going to draft somebody this offseason, who cares? Like you're not going to sign Tee Higgins unless whoever you draft stinks. But if that's the case, like I still think I'm trying again next year, or I'm looking for a cheaper option or something because I just don't see them signing a wide receiver to that much money. I just don't. And I think Tee Higgins is worth it, but I don't know. I just think it's a little bit crazy for where the Pittsburgh Steelers are. I was shocked when all the stuff came out about them trying to land a wide receiver in a trade. I was stunned there. I was like, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me financially. Maybe they got, Omar Khan's a magician, so you can't rule anything out, but I don't know. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. It really doesn't. So we'll see what happens. That's a year from now, $60 million. Could you imagine just your two most guaranteed guys on the roster, TJ Watt, Tee Higgins? And then it's like, all right, sounds good. That's it.
Everyone else has to sign vet mins for the rest of the
That's what I'm saying. Like you better hope that Russell Wilson's coming back for the love of the game because that's the only way that you're keeping everybody else around, because after that, look at any team who has a massive quarterback contract. It just doesn't work out. So they got to figure that out. I'm not a Tee Higgins guy. I don't think you're a Tee Higgins guy. So we'll see what happens. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts, and go check out our new YouTube channel, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk clips, for even more All Steelers Talk. We will be back. Oh, today's Friday. Masters weekend. We will be back on Monday. Enjoy Masters weekend. Enjoy a playoff push by the Penguins. Enjoy Pitt's spring game on Saturday. And most importantly, enjoy another beautiful weekend in the Berg. Peace.